Welcome on into Good Night Qatar. That's right. Get your dancing shoes on there. Wheels, Andy Petrillo, Oliver Platt, Gareth Wheeler, Jordan Wilson with you. We're feeling a little bit more refreshed here, guys, right? Few days off. Semifinals, though, are around the corner at the World Cup. One day off. That's it. A solid 24 hours. That's all we needed, though, to rejuvenate ourselves, gentlemen. So let's dive into one of the semifinal matchups. That, of course, would be Argentina taking on Croatia. I'm going to go around the horn here. I'm going to begin with you, Wally, and you got to give me a reason why you believe Argentina will defeat Croatia.
Because I think they're starting to feel like a World Cup winner, aren't they? Like there's a few different boxes you can check here of teams that have won in the past that Argentina kind of resemble. Like they've gotten better, I think, as the tournament's gone on. They survived that early scare. Teams generally grow into the World Cup. I think when they win it, it's not often that the team that's best on day one is the best on the final day in that final match. Argentina are hard to play against. Aside from a period of madness against the Netherlands, been difficult to beat, difficult to get any kind of foothold against. Basically playing home, the support they're getting from the fans that have traveled to Qatar, who have been absolutely incredible. And then obviously the biggest reason of all, they've got Leo Messi playing inspired football right now and looking like someone who can, be that difference maker, be the player we've seen in the past, Maradona, Zidane, Ronaldo, and so on, who drives his team to this trophy. So there's just a few different elements with Argentina that you start to feel like, even if it's maybe not the best team that we could potentially see ever win the World Cup, there's a few different things coming together here that makes it feel like maybe it's their year.
Dream team, my answer is pretty simple. I'm not going to say too much about it. I'm going to say two words, and they are Lionel Messi. That is the reason. I would say that with 2 games left, he's been showing up for Argentina since the beginning of the tournament and saving them. And his history and the way he's played just throughout his career, to think that he can't show up for 2 more games, I know they're super important. I know they could be against difficult competition, but it's hard to count him out. It's hard to think that Lionel Messi couldn't get this Argentina team over the hump and to another World Cup or to a World Cup championship.
First of all, Oliver Platt broke the rule. That was way more than just one reason, by the way. And he said one reason. So I'll go away from Messi. I think this game, because every Croatia game goes to penalties. And guess what? Argentina might have the best goalkeeper in the world at saving penalties in Emi Martinez. And that's what it's going to take to finally knock Croatia off this run. 4 World Cup games have gone to penalties for Croatia, 4 wins. 4 times they've gone on to advance. Emi Martinez might be the great equalizer here. He is that good. He saves like an obscene percentage of the penalties that he faces. So perhaps Martinez is the reason. And on top of that, Argentina have made it to 4 World Cup semifinals before. Guess what? They've advanced to the final in each and every one of them.
Showing some love for the goalkeepers. Did I just bring you on into the dark side?
Team Petrillo. Team Petrillo.
Hook, line, and sinker. I got you. But I'm going to come right back at you because now we're going to reverse it. We're going to flip it and reverse it, my friend. Give me one reason why Croatia will defeat Argentina, Wheels.
That was very Missy Elliott of you, by the way. Because Croatia have an incredible spine of their team, the best performing goalkeeper at this tournament, the best performing center back at this tournament, and for me, the most and for me, this is all the same reason. The spine of the team, Ollie. That was my reason, and the most well-rounded midfield with the Golden Ball winner from 2018 and Luka Modric. I mean, the midfield for him sets up perfectly with Kovacic doing all the running, Brozovic holding deep. That is difficult to bring to break down. And with those spine of those 3 different positions I bring up, they're all going to be in Lionel Messi's way. Like, Argentina is not and cannot be successful if Lionel Messi doesn't play at his best, because I don't think this Argentina team is capable of taking it to another gear without the little man Lionel Messi. So, look, that spine of the team is good enough. You know how they play. They don't play to make mistakes. They play very safe with that core group through the middle of the park, and they'll play for extra time, and they'll try to wear you down. And to me, Croatia, like, just in terms of the odds here, plus 210 to advance. I mean, I don't think they're getting enough respect. This was a finalist from 2018. And I understand that they haven't scored the opening goal of any game in this tournament, but they're just resilient, aren't they? They can beat you in so many different ways. I think Croatia has a real chance here.
Me too. And the reason I think they can win as much as anything is that Argentina feels like a team of destiny riding a wave of emotion. And that makes me very, very nervous, particularly when you're going up against a team in Croatia that is the opposite. They're cold, they're ruthless, they're incredibly resilient. They'll stay in the game for as long as they possibly can. And then they can kill you. It feels like a potential banana skin for Argentina. And I think it's a better matchup for Croatia than the Brazil game was, quite frankly, when they came through. So, I'm inclined to agree with Wills. I think this one is much more of a coin flip than maybe the odds are making out.
I can't help but think that Croatia is basically a team that embodies a cat with 9 lives. Like they seem like they could just die and be reborn and keep giving and digging and digging. But my reason for them to potentially win it all is just that they're the best team at managing moments and managing the game. Like they're the best at it. They're annoying to play against. I personally hate when you play against a team, you want to get close to them, you want to get stuck in the tackles, you want to keep the rhythm high. And they just are so good at slowing it down and playing the way that they want to play for the majority of the match. So for that, I could see them going all the way.
I have not heard this as a potential banana skin for them. I'm picturing a cartoon character stepping on a banana skin and like slipping and falling back. That was
Have
a
you ever
solid
slipped on a
image there,
banana?
Ollie. Solid image.
And who calls it a skin? It's a banana peel.
It's a banana peel. I know.
Sorry,
It's fine.
okay.
We could totally understand.
We call them skins in England.
Yeah.
Don't worry, buddy. You're a cat amongst the pigeons, my friend.
I'm going to start now with you, Ollie. I don't know if I feel insulted by that. Who in this matchup, though, Ollie, has the most to lose?
Well, it's the obvious answer, but it's got to be Leo Messi. I don't see how you can go anywhere else with this. Croatia, as much as I think they're legitimate contenders to win the tournament at this stage, they're still playing above expectations. No one expected them to get back here. With Messi, this was it, and this is it, right? And not only do you feel like this Argentina team has a chance to win the competition, as I think you always do, but Messi is playing his best football at a World Cup. I think this is the best he's looked in an Argentina jersey in some time. I know he's won the Golden Ball previously, but this performance, I think, has quite easily surpassed that. So to play like this, to produce as many moments as he has so far, and not come away with the trophy at the end of it, not have that for his legacy going forwards, I think would be pretty crushing.
Simply put, Spinderella, Andy, it is Neymar got kicked out of the tournament. Ronaldo got kicked out of the tournament. There's just that looming presence for Messi. Like, is it going to be his time? Is it going to be Argentina's time? That is what's just hanging in the balance. And like Ollie said, and we also alluded to, it's just hanging in the balance and also setting a stage for Croatia, because they could just go and be cold-hearted. But yeah, that's Argentina have everything to lose. Lionel Messi have everything to lose going into this game.
Aside from the World Cup final potentially having an atmosphere, because Argentina supporters have been great, like really. Look, Argentina became emotional in that game against the Netherlands, and I think they kind of let the occasion get away from them a little bit. Straight up, they could beat the Netherlands, but the Paredes coming on, Otamendi out of control, like the now infamous or famous photo, however you want to look at it, after they beat the Netherlands in the penalty shootout, and they're all like going over to mock the Dutch. Messi getting involved with players and media and referees after the game. Like, they lost their composure. They lost their cool. We really haven't seen that. They have to be able to play straight up. I just feel like this has a very similar feel to Brazil, where this is everything. This is the world. Messi, can he go his career without winning a World Cup? Like, the comparisons are there to Diego Maradona. Maradona, won World Cups. Messi, can he do the same? Like, can he win a World Cup? Maradona won a World Cup. The pressure is just immense. It's like Argentina have everything to lose from an emotional perspective in this game, and they can't lose their control, or I think they're in trouble.
Yeah. All right. Well, now that we've set the stage for Argentina, Croatia, I want to know some predictions here. And if you want to actually give me a score line, earn some bonus points, even better. But Jordan, who are you going with in this game?
Andy, I don't even want to predict. This whole tournament has been flipped upside down, but since you forced me and twisted my thumb, I will say 2-1 Argentina. It could be 1-1 going to pens.
Oh.
Honestly, I think the margins are so fine in a game like this that predictions are almost worthless. Like it's a game that's going to be very, very close and
Stand by your prediction.
Decided in one or two moments that could go either way. I'll go with head over heart. I think Croatia might do it again on penalties.
Yeah.
Wheels.
I'll say this. Let's go down memory lane from recent World Cups. Go through Italia 90. There's only been 2 games that have been settled by more than 1 goal in World Cup semifinal history since 1990. One, Andy, you'll remember it, 2006. It came in extra time, Italy 2, Germany 0, and the 7-1 thrashing Germany of Brazil. Other than that, every game has either gone to extra time or been decided by a goal or less. So I'm predicting that these games are all going to be exceptionally tight. Croatia, 9 out of 10 games in knockout rounds since 2008 have gone to extra time. 5 of them have gone to penalties now. How do you not predict penalties for this game? That has to be the bet. That has to be the play. Is Emi Martinez good enough to thwart Croatia and their chances? Perhaps this is where Croatia's streak of 4 World Cup penalty shootout wins in a row comes to an end. Argentina in penalties after it's 1-1 through 90 minutes. That's my prediction.
All right, there you go. That was long to finally get that prediction.
You're welcome.
We got it out of you.
Context.
So basically what we're saying, everyone, is put 3 hours aside tomorrow because this one is probably going to penalties. 2 p.m. ET, Argentina, Croatia, a spot in the final on the line. The next semifinal is what we're going to look at next year on Good Night Qatar. That would be France taking on Portugal. I'm joking. It's Morocco. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. But that was a heartbreaker, wasn't it? But what a Cinderella story for Morocco. Welcome back into Good Night Qatar. Andy, Jordan, Ollie, Gareth with you. It has yet to strike midnight on Morocco. This is the Cinderella story of the 4 remaining teams right now. They're getting set to take on France, which is they're looking to do something, gentlemen, we haven't seen since the 50s, of course, and go back to back and winning the World Cup. So they want to book their spot in the final. So we're going to play the exact same game as we did with the other semi. Ollie, I'm going to begin with you once again. Give me one reason why France will defeat Morocco.
Because surely they will score. Like, surely this France team will finally break down a Moroccan team that has been incredible defensively, but they're battered and bruised. And France have so much talent in their team. Like, how can you look at Mbappe, Giroud, Griezmann, Dembele as a front 4 and think this team is going to get shut out? Like, I just don't see how it can happen. Obviously, like I said this against Portugal as well, that I thought they'd have too much for Morocco. I was wrong then. I could be wrong again. But I would just be stunned if this French team doesn't have at least one goal and maybe multiple goals in it. And I think particularly if they score first, Morocco are going to find it very, very difficult to do what they've done, repeatedly again in this game. So I think France would just have too much for them, but who knows based on what we've seen so far.
You got to reverse that, but who knows what's going to happen? Yeah. Look, we said the exact same thing about Portugal. Look at all the attacking talent in the Portuguese side. Spain, like it's incredible.
No Mbappe,
Morocco got past. I understand that, but anyways, I'll make the case for France here, and I think a lot of it has to do with the play of Antoine Griezmann. The guy has been if it wasn't for Mbappe, everyone would be talking about Griezmann in this tournament. I didn't think it would work. Him playing as a central midfielder, he's been absolutely phenomenal. That's the key matchup in this game for Beat. Him against Amrabat and Unahi in the middle of the park, 2 players who have legs for days. Apparently, they don't get tired either. If Griezmann can pull them around and pick his spots and find the way to pull the strings from maybe even a little bit of a deeper lying position, I think that France is going to be in good stead here. This is a team that's gone on to advance from 15 of their last 17 knockout games. They're tried, they're tested and true. They've conceded a goal in every game this tournament. Morocco doesn't create chances, or at least not very many of them. So France will have the bulk of the play. They're the better team. They have better players. They just need to go on and execute in this game.
Yeah, agreed. I think France just have more guys that can hurt you. After seeing the last match against England, Kylian Mbappe was Dormant might be a harsh word, but a bit quiet. And France still found a way.
Stymied.
I like it.
Good word.
But France still found very great word. I'm gonna look it up after the show, Wheels.
Stymied. Don't ask me to spell it. It's an I or a Y. I'm not sure.
France found a different way to be a very good England side, probably one of the best sides I've seen. So I'm inclined to think that they could do it just because their best player was dormant or stymied, and they still did it. So that's my reason.
Just keep it easy. He was contained a little bit there, but I'm gonna go Missy Elliott on you once again. We're gonna flip it and reverse it. Jordan, get back up here. Step up again, my friend, because why? Give me one reason why Morocco is going to defeat France.
I'll probably do something a bit different from the gentleman and say that the vibes are there and it feels like a home game for Morocco. They have a full continent behind them, like an Arab African nation to go further. Like they are just playing off of vibes. So I'm going to say that a good chunk of the world is behind them and they feel that when they're playing, and that could be a reason to just tip them over.
Love an underdog story.
Love it.
I'll go, like, I think looking not just at France, but looking at this tournament generally, you start to make the comparisons to what Greece did in 2004. And I think it's still a slim possibility for me, but I think there's a possibility there just because I look at the other three teams and I don't see any truly great teams left at this World Cup. I think Brazil was the one who had the potential to be that team. They blew it. I think France are very good. Argentina in moments have been very good. Croatia, obviously, incredibly difficult to beat, but I don't see any truly great teams. I don't think whoever wins this tournament, we're going to look back on and say that was a great, outstanding World Cup team. And that makes it, that I think leaves the door ajar just that little bit more for a Greece-like story that Morocco could be.
They're very, very hard to bet against. When you're a team that doesn't concede goals, you're going to have a chance to win games. This team is resilient. They get Mazraoui back into the team. Looks like he's good to go. Agard, he reportedly wanted to feature against Portugal, just wasn't deemed fit enough. Perhaps those extra few days will get him back on the field. But even the players that came in for him, there's just like a resiliency. There's a mettle amongst this team. They work together. They have talent. It's not just a team that sits back and defends. Like, I think it's a little bit of a misnomer. Costa Rica is the only side of the tournament with less possession than Morocco, but they have dangerous players in attack. Like, En-Nesyri he scored 3 World Cup goals over the course of his career now. That's a big goal against Portugal. Ziyech has been great. He plays for Chelsea. Boufal's been a Premier League player before. Like, it's not as if they're just hit and hope. And the one play in the dying minutes against Portugal sticks with me. Amrabat taking the ball, holding off like 3 players, and then setting Morocco out for the counterattack. Like, their midfield is so strong with him and Unahi. I think that those 2 players can do a job, and they protect that back line so well. Again, the only team that scored a goal, not even against Morocco in this World Cup, since the new manager took over, is Canada. That's it. It's remarkable what they're doing. It feels like a home game. It feels like it's a team of destiny. It's very hard to bet against this team heading into this game.
Which is why, so this next question, I feel like it's a wash unless somebody completely surprises me with their answer. But Ollie, who in this matchup has the most to lose?
Well, I think specifically for me, it's Didier Deschamps. And I know that's maybe a strange thing to say for someone who's won a World Cup as a player and as a manager now. Like, he's already got this box checked when it comes to his resume. But I think he's someone who's been consistently doubted by French fans, by a lot of fans for, being too conservative, not making the most of the talent he has. He answered those critics emphatically at the last World Cup. But now I think he has the opportunity to completely silence them by doing something really, really special, which is winning back-to-back World Cups, which obviously hasn't happened, for about half a century with Brazil. So this for me is a huge opportunity for his legacy as a coach to do something that I think a few years ago no one would have tipped him to do. Like I said, he's had a lot of critics, and now he has the chance to achieve something that very, very few people will ever do.
Mm-hmm. Let's go the footballing world, because as this game expands to different play, the first Don't give me that face like you're just munching on a lemon there.
You're getting philosophical.
I'm saying that.
The answer.
Wild.
Okay, I'll give you my answer.
It's
Please
the first
proceed.
World Cup in an Arab nation. It's Morocco's an Arab nation and an African side for the first time making a World Cup semifinal. I think as the World Cup's now expanding to 48 teams, there's going to be more opportunities for more teams outside of Europe and South America to go on and make a difference in this tournament. I think it would send quite the message if Morocco goes on to win this game and makes it to a World Cup final. If not, they're very much a South Korea story in 2002 where it's just not quite enough. We see this all the time. European sides and South American sides dominate this sport. So I think in the expansion of the game, moving into the new era of 48-team World Cups, if Morocco doesn't go on to qualify, then we're going to have to wait a little bit longer, and there'll be the debate how many teams from each region should be in a World Cup. So if Morocco do make it, then I think that some of those conversations are put to bed.
France has everything to lose.
That's the answer I'm looking for.
Football world.
Okay. I like your take though, Wheels. I would say that you landed the plane, buddy. It was great. You got me on board for a second, but I
wasn't
jumped out.
stymied. Andy tried to stymie me.
I jumped out and I was like, nah, I'm getting back on what I really believe. France has everything to lose. Morocco has already
won the World Cup, man. They won it in 2018. They're playing with house money.
Morocco have already overachieved in this tournament. They lose against France. Everyone's still clapping and talking about how France now has to get back to the finals and has to win it. That's basically the story that's going around right now in the football world.
They don't have to. Mbappe's 23. Like, he's going to play in, 3 more World Cups?
He might not get a better situation than this, though.
He's already won the World Cup.
Brazil are out. England are out. Portugal, Spain, Germany, all gone.
Morocco's thinking the exact same thing here.
Sure they are, but
I think they're still the underdog no matter what. People are still expecting France to win, and if they don't, that will be, I think considered a miss by France. But let's get to the predictions now. Ollie, I'll begin with you.
Yeah, like I said in my answer of why France will win, I just think they're going to have too much. I can't see past them for this game, so I'll go with a 2-0 French win.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jordan, you're next.
Yeah, I'll go with I'll go 2-1 for France. I think Morocco might score, but France is still gonna win.
Who's scoring 2 goals against Morocco? Did you
best player in the world?
Did you listen to my explanation the previous segment? Teams don't win by 2 goals in these semifinal matchups at the World Cup. This game's going extra time as well. I think that it might not get the penalties. I think that it might be.
Who's winning, Wheels?
Just let me finish here.
Great question.
Morocco is going to win this game 1-0 extra time.
Oh, get out of here.
I like it though, Wheels.
Get out. All right. We're buckling up for another one here. All right. France versus Morocco. That goes in a few days' time. That'll be on Wednesday, 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll finally get our answer if Morocco can keep this story going or if France can get back in the final at back-to-back World Cups. When we return here on Good Night Canada, Good Night Qatar, we're talking Canada. Yeah, it's Good Night Canada at the World Cup. We do know that already. But the voting is underway. Ladies and gentlemen, for Canada Soccer Player of the Year, let's have a little fun with who the guys think should win it. All right, gentlemen, as per usual, we do turn our attention to Canada. And in this particular segment, Canada Soccer is asking members of the media to submit 3 candidates for Player of the Year for both the men and women. And this is how we're going to do it. Oliver and Gareth are going to give their 3 candidates for the men, the women, and then they're also going to give us their winner. Wheels, you better give us a winner. And then Jordan is going to analyze your picks and your choice for Player of the Year. Are you ready for that, Jordan? Are you ready to be judge and jury?
I think so.
Okay, because the pressure's on, my friend. Ollie, let's begin with you. Give your candidates for the women and your winner, please.
Women's national team. Okay, well, I'll go 3-1 in order. At number 3, I've got Jessie Fleming. I think it's Jessie Fleming's team now. I think that's beyond doubt. Best 11 at the CONCACAF W Championship in the summer. I think she had another excellent year. Co-led the team with 5 goals as well. Like I said, this is the centerpiece of the team now. This is the player I think they build around, whether it's in that central midfield role. I think it could increasingly even be as a number 10 as well, as an alternative to Christine Sinclair in that position. Fleming, I think, is the present and the future of the team and had another outstanding year. So the fact that she's at 3, I think, shows there's some strong candidates. At number 2, I've gone with the goalkeeper, Kaylin Sheridan. Thought she was excellent all year long. Had some big gloves to fill, obviously, following the retirement of Steph LeBay, and I think Sheridan has absolutely thrived. Again, I look at the W Championship as the main part of the year for this team. Thought she was excellent at that tournament, and particularly in the final, in a game Canada didn't play well, probably their worst performance of the year. She kept them in that game and really gave them a chance to get something from it. Ultimately, not quite enough. And then number 1, this one was pretty straightforward for me this year, to be honest with you. And, you know, there's some very good players that have been left out of my top 3 when you look at Lawrence, Buchanan, you know, players that maybe you just take for granted a little bit because of their excellence and maybe, you know, could easily be on this list. But for me, number 1 has to be Adriana Leon. I thought she was Canada's best player all year long. 5 goals. We've been talking for a while about the needs for a wing player, an attacking midfield player who is truly consistently dangerous, not just in terms of, you know, the one-on-one game and creating goals, but scoring goals as well. And this year, Adriana Leon became that player, earned the move to Manchester United. I thought she had a brilliant year and has gone from a player who we all kind of looked at as a super sub to now being cemented, I think, in Bev Priestman's lineup.
Okay, I like that. Jessie Fleming, by the way, is the 2021 Player of the Year. You're going Adriana Leon, who's had an absolute resurgence with the national team. Before you cast judgment, Jordan, Wheels has to give his 3 on the women's side.
By the way, for the record, I think it's the first time that Ollie's given any praise to any Manchester United player ever. So, well done.
I like Bruno Fernandes.
Yeah.
I actually had Leon and Sheridan outside my top 3. They were my 4 and 5 respectively.
Interesting. Okay.
Number 3, Julia Grosso. I can't keep Grosso off the list the season that she had, not only from a club perspective, making a wonderful move over to Juventus and thriving in that environment. She won the CONCACAF Golden Boot Award and was in the best 11 for the W Championship. And I think largely we base, these votes about how you fare for Canada in the top competition. This was our biggest competition of the year, and Grosso was an absolute star in that competition. I do have Kadisha Buchanan in my top 3. I'm going to put Buchanan at number 2. She won the Champions League yet again this year for her club side, and that has to have value. She had the second most minutes for the Canadian women's national teams this year as well. And my number 1 is Jessie Fleming. Jessie Fleming's my winner, 41 appearances with Chelsea, winning the Women's Super League as well as the FA Cup. Another player who was in the best 11 at the W Championship as well. She had 5 goals in the year, joint leader with Adriana Leon in that category as well. Look, for both the women and men, this is the toughest year I've had kind of figuring out where I like each player. But Fleming, for me, top player for country, having a great time with club right now. So it's Jessie Fleming at number 1.
This is why it's tough. This is why it's tough to choose, Jordan. But now that they've laid it out, their top 3 and their winner, it is your turn to analyze.
So I will say it's a 2-woman race for number 1. And of course, these 2 handsome gentlemen said both of those names. So I would say even in my opinion, it would be Kadisha Buchanan to win it or Adriana Leon. Now, Ollie, we talked about it briefly, but in a year, it's not who's the best player, it's who's had the best year. And so with what Wheels brought up with Kadisha Buchanan, win a Champions League, that has so much merit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Her being a rock for Canada consistently. I know she's won the award in 2015, 2017, 2020. But this year seems like those seasons as well. She's just been outstanding. So she has to be up there as well. But I gotta love the rise of the little Mississauga native. I know she moved to Maple and Adriana. But she's been one of the most exciting players that I've enjoyed watching. And she just had an outstanding year and seemed that every time Canada played, she came to play and showed up in big moments and scored beautiful goals as well. And I agree with Ollie. It's nice to have a player or winger that is going to come and contribute consistently for the national team. So I think it's between those two. Other players balled out, but I'm picking either Khadija or I'm picking Adriana.
See, can I just chime a little bit? I do like.
Yeah, let us know your thoughts.
I like your Julia. I mean, to me, it would be between Julia Grosso and Adriana Leon. The move that Adriana Leon has made, obviously, to Manchester United, the goals that she's scoring with the national team. But Julia Grosso made the move to Juventus. She's been named like player of the week, I think 3 or 4 times. You know, she scored her first goal, to your point, what she did at the CONCACAF W Championship. And I love that we can have this debate because the women are doing incredible things everywhere. And I think Khadija, to your point, winning Champions League does carry a lot of weight. I think she's just needed some more time. I think a little bit with Chelsea here. I've been able to watch some of those games and she's still looking good and played the full 90 a lot, but it just seems a little like getting used to a new team. So not as dominant as she was with her previous, team. Because I think she's just getting to everything's new for her, right? New country, new team, new league. But I love what I've seen from Grosso and I love what I've seen from Leon. I feel like the toss-up would be between the two of them.
So I think it's pretty clear here. People, you can love Gareth 2 and 3. That's all great, but everyone agrees with my winner. Thanks.
All right.
Say it with your chest, Sally. Love it.
Yeah. All right. So that's the debate around the women. You at home can have that debate around the dinner table with family and friends. Let's turn our attention to the men. Wheels, this time you're going to go first.
This was incredibly difficult. I haven't submitted my votes yet, by the way, and this is subject to change. This is tough. I have 5 candidates as well. Not making my top 3. Alphonso Davies, not making my top 3.
But he's been injured a lot. That's
I know, but he scored the goal at the.
It's okay, Will. It's okay, buddy.
Tajon Buchanan doesn't make my top 3.
Okay.
Oh, no, that's
crazy.
Wow.
Crazy. So my top 3, Jonathan David is going to come in at number 3 on my list. Scored 4 goals for Canada, on fire for Lille as well. His goals when, Davies was out, along with Kyle Larin. I mean, this is the reason why Canada made the World Cup. His contributions were outstanding. So I can't believe he's number 3. I might have to put him higher on my list. But at number 2, I have the Iron Man of the Canadian men's national team and defender of the year for CF Montreal, Alistair Johnston. How do I not have Alistair Johnston in my top 3? A glue player within this team. He had an incredible year. Dream move to Celtic. He's now, I think he's gone beyond Bruce Wilson for the record of consecutive games played for Canada as well. He's been an absolute Ironman and rock in this Canadian men's national team. As of right now, my top player is Stefan Eustáquio, both for club and country. And I think that it highlighted how much different Canada is without him when he couldn't play in that final game against Morocco. This guy was vital. I mean, he missed the game against the United States in World Cup qualifying, but this guy was just an absolute stud. And seeing his growth and him turn into a regular starter and goal scorer in the Champions League for FC Porto, just the leap that he has made. He was 2-time Canada Soccer Men's Player of the Month over the course of the calendar year. I have a really hard time not making Eustáquio my Canadian Men's Player of the Year.
Okay. Ollie, the floor is yours.
Well, I'll say first of all, and this applies to the women's picks as well, that although we do account for club and international form in this award, I tend to weight it much more to what they've done in a Canada jersey. This is the Canada Soccer Players of the Year. So I'm kind of more 75-25 weighted towards international performances. And for that reason, I also do not have Alphonso Davies in my top 3, just because, he missed the second half of World Cup qualifying. That's a big chunk of the matches we're looking at here in terms of judging these performances.
It's so hard.
It's tough for sure. He could easily be in there, no question. But number 3, I've gone with Jonathan Davids, and it's almost purely based on what he did in January. I think that was the single most important window in terms of Canada qualifying for the World Cup. And he was absolutely magnificent. Brilliant goals against Honduras and El Salvador, the assist against the United States. When Davies went down with myocarditis, David put the team on his back in that crucial window and was brilliant. So he's in there for that reason. Number 2, I've gone with Tajon Buchanan. Just another excellent year where he continued to grow for club and country. And I think at the World Cup, which, are the 3 biggest games we judge when looking at this award, I think he was arguably Canada's best player. The assist, obviously, on that first World Cup goal, consistently dangerous down the wing. I think he can be very happy with his performance in Qatar. And number 1, we agree. I think it's got to be this year, Stefan Eustaquio.
Wow.
Again, but based not just on what he did with his club with Porto, where there was a fantastic rise, becoming a key player in a Champions League team, but just for me, more days than not, being the best player on the field for Canada. I think if you watch back that game against Belgium in particular, obviously before he got injured against Croatia, this guy was incredible in that game. Absolutely magnificent. And I think that was really the standard he set all year long in central midfield. I thought he was tremendous for Canada this year and really has become the centerpiece of that team.
Wow.
It's hard, man.
It's very difficult. There are a few things I want to mention. I said briefly before with the ladies that the best player doesn't have to be the player of the year as well. So Alphonso Davies, even though it's so hard to count him out, I do agree with you guys. I think that there are other players that should be a nomination for this year. He could still be the greatest. I'd kiss his foot if I saw him. He is a phenomenal human being and a great player and has put Canada on the map in so many ways. But that doesn't mean that this has to be his year or this has to be his award. Now, it's unanimous. I'll start with that by saying Stefan Eustaquio, in my opinion, would be number 1. You look at Canada with him, you look at Canada without him, huge difference. No one does what he does for the Canadian side. And then you take his club form, him popping in goals as well and just performing on a high level week in and week out. It's got to be him. Now, the number 2 and 3s, you guys brought out so many names that I'm conflicted. But then I'm also joyful inside because I'm like, man, how many times you're looking at the men's national team for the year and you look at player of the year and you could kind of pick 2 and just be like, okay,
it's been straightforward. This is not straightforward.
This literally you could put.
I have a name neither of you mentioned.
Look at this, 6 or 7 guys. So Andy, I'd love to hear your name.
2 or 3, yeah.
Well, to me, if you're going to talk about what they've done for the national team this past year, how do you not choose the guy who became the all-time leading goal scorer for the Canadian men and was popping goals left, right, and center during World Cup qualification? And that's Kyle Larin.
Atiba, Kamal Miller.
That's a shout as well.
I mean, if we're talking about national team and, again, like this guy was the one who was mostly scoring too, especially in the beginning and then just continued to do so. I don't know. To me, it would be Kyle Larin. Not as winner. I agree with that. I think we're all across the board. I love Stefan Eustaquio. He is my winner. But if we're doing top 3s, I would probably sneaky Larin in there if we're going based on what you've done with the national team.
I just couldn't keep Alistair Johnston out of my top 3. He played every minute for the Canadian men's national team through the group stage in like those critical games. Like he has been a transformational figure in this team. And I do think club form matters. And that was the best CF Montreal season that we've seen. I know the team was very good 7-8 years ago, but this team made up of Canadian players, and Johnston, you can make the argument, was the best of the bunch. I just have a tough time keeping John. I understand Tajon Buchanan. He was wonderful. He was hurt at the beginning of this season, but he's played Champions League football very good as well. Look, like there's a real shout for 5, 6, 7 different guys to get votes here. I think that this is going to be the most competitive year on record. There was an argument a couple of years ago, Jonathan David, when his name was kind of emerging, and Alphonso Davies. I think David won it that year, and I completely sided with the David side of that argument. This time around, Andy, I'm actually not sure how the voting is going to go. I think it can go a little bit in many different directions. I think we're on the same page with Eustaquio, but I wouldn't be surprised or shocked or even mad or angry if it went to someone else. There's so many deserving figures here.
Very true. All right. Well, we will find out. That's just our night. We're starting the debate. So everyone at home have that fun little debate of who should be Canada Soccer Player of the Year for both the men and women. When we come back, we're going to look ahead to 2026. As we know, Canada jointly hosting the World Cup with Mexico and the United States. What concerns do you have for Canada? Maybe some opportunities as well for Canada at that World Cup. Let's discuss on We're already looking ahead to World Cup 2026. We know that it expands, gentlemen. We know it's going to be on Canadian, American, Mexican soil, which also means now that players are going to be traveling between games. The one thing in Qatar is everything is in the same location. But from the distance between games, cultural differences as well between Qatar and North America, it's going to be different. And as I mentioned, the increase of teams as well. So Gareth, what concerns you about hosting the 2026 World Cup in Canada?
I have a lot of concerns. I know that we don't like how the World Cup in Qatar came about, migrant worker deaths in stadiums and all kind. We don't need to go through that again, but the outcome has been absolutely superb infrastructure and stadiums. I have real concerns about both Canada and Vancouver in those regards, because a lot of public dollars are tied to this, bureaucrats, people that don't really understand or know, or quite frankly, care that much about the game of soccer. What are these stadiums going to look like? And what's the infrastructure around them going to look like? Like I'm here in Toronto. We can't get transit right. You can't move around the city. What's Toronto going to look like by 2026? Massive concern. The stadium designs I've seen look like an absolute nightmare. And it goes beyond where the seats are, but the bones of stadiums as well. What's going on underneath? BMO Field needs a complete redo. It needs to be basically torn down and built back up if you want it to be on the level of the stadiums that we saw at this World Cup. It's nowhere near good enough. Same thing with BC Place in Vancouver. Like, it needs a ton of work to bring it up to speed, to freshen it up, put it on the level. I think it's ahead of BMO Field, by the way, but put it on a level where it will reflect positively, about this country when it comes to the World Cup. A lot of dollars are linked to this. I will hope and keep my fingers crossed every day that soccer people are making these decisions, so the legacy and the stadiums that are built are sustainable and worthwhile and lasting after this World Cup. But I'm very nervous about this, and I'm very nervous about the way that it's going to make us look if it's not executed to the highest quality.
I know to some people it may seem so trivial, but to your point, though, traffic, to me, transportation is so huge. I know when Toronto hosted the 2015 Pan American Games, and you can't even really compare the Pan Am Games to the World Cup, they did certain things like allotting certain lanes, the transportation from the airport to the city, right? That ended up becoming something new, that train that comes straight on in. But we are talking about a World Cup, and I know that the city's answers to a lot of things has always just been, we'll shut things down and make it completely dedicated to this. And then the rest of the people who still have to go to work are hooped.
People are already complaining about the public dollars that are going to be going towards this event. And by the way, I said Canada, I meant Toronto and Vancouver. Just slip of the
Toronto, and Vancouver. Yeah, Toronto and Vancouver. But Ollie, how about this? What maybe on the flip side, what are some of the opportunities that you think Canada will have here?
Well, I'd look on the sporting sides, right? Like, I'm hopeful, first of all, that Canada will be a better team than Qatar have been at this World Cup. And so there's an opportunity there to create some excitement and leave a bit of a legacy. I think the legacy with Qatar has been more political. We all understand that now. It's been about putting that country on the map, bringing them into kind of, global relevance, I guess, and building relationships there. And we can all have our own opinions, obviously, on how that's come about. But I think for Canada, the legacy can be more about the sport. It can be more about, changing the game in this country in the way we all talk about and want it to happen. I do have a lot of the same concerns as Wheels. And to be frank, we talked about this with Carlo Corazine a bit. Like, I don't know that we've really seized the moment of this World Cup. I don't know that there's been a ton that's been done in 2022 to really make this a moment that leaves a lot behind, and at least here in Canada. We cannot make that mistake in 2026. We have to be ready. We have to, have a real plan of how we're going to capitalize on this moment and how we're going to use it to really change the sport in this country long term and at every level. How are we going to get people engaged in football, not just once every 4 years or once every 2 years for each World Cup and Olympics, but really, really create some, kids who are going to be football fans for the rest of their life, people who are going to show up in CPL stadiums and the Women's League, all of those different things that a World Cup can be a real springboard before, and we've seen it. With other countries, we've got to be ready, and I hope we are, in 3.5 years' time.
Yeah, because that'll sneak up on you real quick, won't it? When we come back, we're going to have fun with likely or unlikely, no hopefully likely from Ollie. That's coming up next on Good Night Qatar. It's time for a little game of likely or unlikely, and I'm going to begin with Jordan because Gareth and Ollie took up all the time in that last segment. Welcome to my life, Jordan. So here we go.
Thing, boys.
Likely or unlikely, Jordan, that Antoine Griezmann has been the best player at the World Cup?
Likely. He's not getting love because he's not scoring, but man, is he being a magician in the midfield. Likely, Andy.
Ollie?
I'm going to say likely as well. As brilliant as Messi's been and Mbappe has been, I think Griezmann has been outstanding in almost every game, just consistently influential. I think he'd be my player of the tournament right now.
Wheels.
Unlikely, because Antoine Griezmann isn't how you pronounce Lionel Messi.
All right, Ollie, I'm coming back to you on this one. Likely or unlikely? Underdog Morocco winning the World Cup would be a better story than Messi winning the World Cup.
Unlikely. Both fantastic stories, obviously, and Morocco becoming a world champion, an African team becoming a world champion would be hugely significant. I'm not doubting that, but I think, at least from a sporting perspective, the greatest player in history finally getting the World Cup, that's got to be the biggest story.
Wheels?
Likely. World Cups are won by teams, not individuals. And as
true?
a longtime card-carrying member of the Cristiano Ronaldo GOAT fan club, I can't subscribe to that. So.
Jordan?
Likely. If Morocco wins, this is the first African nation to win. This is a better story. I'm sorry, Lionel Messi. I want you to do well, but Morocco, hands down.
Yeah, I think it would be nice, but Messi's already in the history books. He's already a great one. This will vibrate, I think, throughout the footballing world and in the African nation. I think more so if they were to win than Messi winning. Likely or unlikely, Wheels, England will win a World Cup in Ollie's lifetime.
Well, Ollie's a young man.
How long have I got?
He looks healthy to me. I think he's going to live a long and wonderful life. And I'm going to say likely. Because I think England can win as soon as 2026. I think their young core of players is very good and exciting. They might be the favorite heading into 2026. So,
Jordan?
Ollie, I'm going to go with likely.
I'm going to go likely as well. I'm going to stay consistent. I hugged my dad yesterday after seeing him for the first time after England lost. I said, it's okay, buddy. They'll win in your lifetime. And he's 65. So
got to do it. Gotta do it.
I'm thinking, yeah.
Ollie's less than half of that.
Ollie, have faith, Ollie.
I have to answer this one on my own mortality.
How are you feeling? Are you healthy?
We're getting closer. I feel. I don't want to say I feel healthy. It's the ultimate jinx.
Stop it.
It's horrible. Likely.
Horrible.
Let's be optimistic.
Likely or unlikely, Jordo, that Ronaldo is still good enough to dominate the MLS?
Likely. I think he would come here and bang 30 goals. Yeah, for sure.
I should say MLS, not the, but anyways,
It's okay. We got you.
Yeah, the MLS.
All right, the MLS. Gareth?
Yeah, likely. Ibra did it. Very similar age and profile. I think Ronaldo can do it as well.
Ollie?
I guess I'll say likely. I think he could score a lot of goals in MLS.
I think so too. Final one here. Likely or unlikely? This is a doozy, Wheels. John Herdman is Canada's coach at the 2026 World Cup.
I said this on a previous show, likely. I think he's here through 2026. And from the sounds of some of the interviews he's doing, he's already ramping things up towards that goal.
Yeah. Ollie?
I think it sounds likely, again, like Will said, based on his comments. I think he needs a new contract. I think they need to lock him into a real commitment through 2026.
Jordan?
Will I go against the grain? I think it's likely. I think I'm more hopeful.
No,
I do think it's likely. That's the answer. I think it's likely. I think the gentlemen have said it. Give him a good deal. Homeboy's staying. He wants to be here, and this is his squad. Give him a good deal. I know he's staying.
Can I say this? Because I know a lot of fans, be them of the national teams or just pro teams in general, they'll always hold something that, whether an athlete or coach said against them, because we don't know what's around the corner. We don't know if there's a pro team that suddenly goes, well, surprise, and like offers Herdman something magnificent that he can't turn down. But to everyone's point, as of right now, he wants to be a part of this team because everything he's saying, from preparing for the Gold Cup to already talking about scouting and players who have dual passports and making them cap tied to Canada. Like, his brain is already going. He's already thinking that way, and talking about qualifying for 2022 was all about setting the groundwork for 2026. So he's invested, he's there. But at the same time, like I said, that doesn't mean somebody's not going to go and offer him something great.
Yeah.
But as of
I'd
right now,
like to see a Val renewal.
Yeah, we do want to see a renewal of vows, though, that's for sure. Pleasure as always, gentlemen. Wheels, Ollie, Jordo, I'm Andy. See you next time.